Hello to everybody that is joined. We are just waiting for Joe and Flo, our guests of honour, to join. I think they may be having some technical issues. So we are running a couple of seconds behind schedule. But just a little bit of housekeeping for everybody that's already on the call. We will be recording the call today. So please feel free to keep your cameras off. Be seen on the recording, because we have got some people who weren't able to join today who have asked if we can send the recording out to them. So we will be recording the call. We have got Ollie on the call with us today, who was one of last year's finalists from the Turk's Head, which is a Fuller's pub in London, a managed house. And we also have Taya from our marketing team on the call as well, who is going to be helping me out to make sure that we don't miss any questions and that everybody has been let into the room to listen to the webinar. So thank you all for joining us. Taya, any sign of Joe and Flo?
Not at the moment, no.
Oh, I've just got a message saying Flo says she's on, but she doesn't think it's working. So, okay, dokie, bear with me a second. I love these technical issues that always start at the beginning. So, okay. Can you resend the link to Flo for me, Taya, please?
Yeah, 1 second.
Thank you. Sorry, everybody, we won't be a moment. Love these technical issues. So in terms of housekeeping, if everybody could stay on mute with the exception of Ollie, Taya, and Joe and Flo when they manage to get joined on for us. What we're going to do today is run through a number of slides which are going to talk to you about the process of entering Licensee of the Year awards, what's involved, what makes a great application, and also Joe, Flo and Ollie will be giving you some feedback on their experience of going through the process last year, because it's all very well and good hearing it from me, but it's also much more useful for you to be able to have the opportunity to ask questions of somebody who's experienced it themselves. So we've got quite a selection of people on the call today, a mixture of people who are potential entrants. We've also, I know, got some BDMs from some of the different pub companies on the call as well, who'll be taking this information back to people within their organisation. So at the end of the call, once we've gone through the slides, if anybody's got any questions, please do feel confident speaking up and asking them. You can pop them in the chat if you don't want to go on camera and speak, and then Taya will read them out along with some of the other questions that we've had in advance of this webinar, and we will put them to Ollie, or when we get Joe and Flo on board, either of those as well. So I think probably we will make a start. So in their absence, this picture is the very lovely Joe and Flo, who won last year's competition. So when they do join the call, you'll recognise them. This was their second year last year taking part in LOYA. So they both entered in 2022. They went all the way through to the finals, but didn't actually win in 2022. So they decided to re-enter the following year, and they actually won that following year. So when they get on the call, we'll ask them some questions about their experience and why they decided to enter again. There are a couple of basic entry requirements that we do look at initially when somebody is either nominating somebody else or entering themselves for the competition. So we do ask that the person being nominated is the main licensee of the business and can provide a copy of their personal license. That can be one of a couple. So if there are two people running the business, obviously only one of them needs to provide their personal license, but they can both enter the competition together in the same way that Joe and Flo did. The applicant must have been in the business for 2 years by February. So there is a reason for that. And when we go through the stages of the competition in a moment, it will become a little bit clearer. But we do ask for 2 years worth of financial information on the business that you are entering for. And that's so that we can make sure that you are a solid, business, and that there are no sort of issues where you're going to go pop, and that we can look to work with you on an ongoing basis. So we do need to make sure that we have seen the finances. They don't, however, get shared with anybody outside of this process. So if you're an applicant and you're thinking about entering the competition, but you're concerned that those finances will be shared, I can guarantee you that that's not the case. You do also need to have a food hygiene rating of 4 or 5, or if you're in Scotland, that is a pass, because Scotland just has a pass or fail. So again, that's to make sure that the applicants are all-round performers and running the very best businesses that they can. And there are a number of reasons why you might want to enter, or indeed nominate somebody to enter. So you'll see some of the reasons here on the screen. So industry-wide recognition. This is a great platform for people who have perhaps won local competitions or regional competitions or competitions within their pub company, but want to go further and want to look at something on a national scale. The whole process is set up so that you'll get lots of insight into your business. So we look at it almost as a business building process. And because of the level of contribution from both the people entering the competition and those judging it, we would say that it is the most prestigious and hard fought for award in the industry. So it gives you a really good opportunity to showcase your business, but also it gives you an opportunity to meet other operators who are on a similar level to you, who you maybe wouldn't normally come across in normal day-to-day life. So Ollie, I know you're on mute. If you could take yourself off mute, I'd be really interested, and I'm sure everybody would be interested to hear from you on any other reasons why you decided to enter Licensee of the Year last year.
Yeah, so I mean, I came at it first time last year, and I think those 5 really cover a lot of it from my experience. But I'd really kind of spotlight the last one. I come from a managed background. I work for Fuller Smith and Turner. It kind of reflectively now, the people who I met during this process, like Joe and Flo, some of the other finalists, some of the other people who applied, really now are people who I collaborate with outside of my day-to-day. They are a soundboard, you know, almost by already being on this call, you kind of joined the LOYA family, really. And that's kind of what the BII in this process do. It gave me a platform to really speak to people who were smashing it in what they were doing and be able to learn from them and kind of also work with them and improve myself by going to see their businesses, working for some of them. I think another thing that's not on this slide, but was really, really important is I'm sure everyone who's going to nominate themselves has a really high performing team. I wouldn't underestimate the kind of motivation factor this process will give to your team. It took my team to a whole new level and surprised me, surprised them, how much they really wanted to progress and learn from it. It really had a massive halo effect on the team, on the customers, on everyone. So while absolutely those things on the screen are real reasons to enter, this process will change your business and change you for the positive. And I'm living proof of that. So apply.
Excellent. Thank you. We probably need to update this slide for next year then. So we have a really wide variety of people that enter Licensee of the Year. And as Ollie said, Ollie is a manager from a Fuller's pub. So we have a real selection between managed businesses and leased or tenanted businesses. Some of them are wet-led, some of them are food pubs. The way that the competition is set up and the way that you accrue points as you go through the competition is set up to make sure that we're looking for an all-round fantastic operator. So you won't be penalised for coming from what you might consider a sector or a background or a type of pub that is different to perhaps somebody that won last year. This is Tommy. Tommy was one of last year's finalists from Scotland. He's a Star Pubs and Bars site, and last year we included the Castmark inspections as part of the mystery shopper visits, which is a really important part of what we do. So when we look at the process, there are a number of different steps and stages through the process. So the first step is to nominate either yourself, or if you are on the call and you're a BDM, to nominate one of the pubs that you think is potentially in the running for this year. And there are only some basic questions that are going to be asked at that nomination stage. So if you're nominating for somebody else, we're going to ask for your name and the reason why you're nominating them. We're then going to ask for the nominees' details. So their name of the licensees, their email address, and the details of their pub. And that allows us to then contact that licensee and to say to them, you've been nominated by so-and-so because they think you're fantastic. They believe that you would do well in this competition, and we would love you to enter. So by nominating somebody, you're not forcing them to enter. It's always a choice for the operator. So the operator has to make a conscious decision that they want to get involved in that competition. They will be sent the entry form. So that will go directly to the person who has been nominated. And they have until the 23rd of February this year to complete and send that entry form back. So that does go into the email that we send them. And it gives them a blank entry form. And we ask that they return that to us by the 23rd of February. So we get all of those entry forms in. And those entry forms are then assessed by the team at the BII. And just to be clear to everybody on the call, I'm not part of that team. So you can contact me afterwards. I can answer any questions that you've got, but I'm not involved in the judging process in any way. We look through all of those entry forms, or the team look through all of those entry forms, and from those entry forms, they will pick the quarterfinalists. So they will go for usually around the top 50 out of the sites that have entered, and they will become our quarterfinalists. So it's quite important that when you're filling that entry form out, or if you're supporting someone in filling that entry form out, that it gives us a really good view of the pub and the licensee and why they deserve to be in the competition, because the very first stage of the competition is all around that application form. So if there's not much information in there, if it doesn't give us a good idea of what the pub and the licensee are all about, but the next 50 do, then unfortunately you won't go through to the quarterfinals. So we'll pick up a little bit more around what's included in those forms in the next couple of slides, but we will then announce the quarterfinalists. And at that stage, you'll see on this slide a little badge. Every quarterfinalist will receive a badge that they can then use on their social media to share with their customers. And Ollie mentioned earlier the sort of the halo effect. Ollie, did you use those badges as you went through the process on your pub social media? Did you share them with Fuller's? How did that work for you?
Yeah, I practically wallpapered the pub with them, to be honest. No, in all jokes aside, when we were announced as quarterfinalists, kind of did a CRM email and put it on social. And it was the first time where I kind of had an eye-opening moment because customers were coming in and asking about it. And these badges, apart from being very pretty and representing already at quarterfinal level a massive achievement, it's where suddenly stuff gets really real. And I think using those badges, and also the BII provide you with templates for press releases. They do some press releases of their own. Kind of when that badge lands, in my memory of it a while ago, was suddenly where I thought, my God, this is massive and is starting to have an impact on the trade of my business. So do use those assets. And I'm sure Hannah will come on to it in a second, but the badges get better the further you go on. So you can kind of update them. And I did that horrible thing of where I put them next to each other on my website homepage for a bit. I took it off then because someone in Fuller's called me arrogant. But
I can't believe that for a minute, Ollie.
Well, you know her, she's a fellow of the BII actually, but it's really use those badges, shout about it, make sure the team are sharing it. You know, that will be a big kind of springboard where your team will start going, okay, so what's this licensee of the year stuff about?
Thank you. And I think we now have Joe and Flo on the call, or at least Flo. So Flo, if you can come off mute, I can't actually see you at the moment. Oh, there they are. Hi.
Sorry we're late.
That's okay. Thanks for joining. We're just talking about utilising the social media badges that you get through the competition, and we're at the very first stage when you receive the quarterfinalist badge because your application reached the quarterfinals. Did you guys use that on your website as well?
Yeah, so we used it on the website. We put it up on our presentations in the pub that we've got on our screen. So people that were sitting in the bar having a drink could see that we were quarterfinalists. We also used them on email signatures and everything like that. So we, Joe got a tattoo.
Oh, no, you haven't.
Not yet. So yeah, we use them as much as we could to kind of spread the word a little bit more about the competition that we'd put ourselves in for.
Awesome. And I think Ollie just mentioned, look, quarter finalists, although it's the very first stage of the competition, something to bear in mind is that because only 50 people get through to that stage, that is the best 50 in the whole of the UK in terms of the people that have been nominated and entered. So if you do decide to enter the competition or you're nominating somebody, please don't underestimate the importance of even reaching that first stage. So we've got down to the first 50, and the next stage is what we call a social media and website audit. So we look at all of your social media, and we actually have Taya on the call today who works in the BII social media team. So Taya, could you just give us a couple of pointers on things that you would look for in terms of social media and website auditing?
Yeah, sure. So the social media and website audit, we rank you based on how your social media is not performing, but how active you are on it. So if your last post was 3 years ago, it's probably not the best look, but we look on how often you post, what type of content you're posting, have you got photos? Is it purely just advertising stuff? Is it showing what your team is up to, just general pub life? And then for the website audit, we look mostly at your homepage because we want to know if you've got the most important details on there. So do you have your phone number and contact information on the homepage? Do you have your address where they can find you? Do you have your opening times? All these things like add up points, and then we rank you on that, and that adds to your final score at the end.
Perfect, thank you. So there is some work that you can do ahead of entering in terms of making sure that all of that content is up to date within your business. But going back to the entry form, so what you will receive once you've been nominated or you've nominated yourself is a blank entry form with a number of questions on it that are preset to ask you about your business and to ask you a number of different things. And that's really to give us a really good holistic overview of you and your team and your business and how you run. So we're not just looking in an ideal world for one sentence answers to any of those questions. What we want to know is, what are you doing within your community? How do you diversify your offer, and what makes you different? Why are customers coming to you? What have you done in terms of PR, and how are you supporting other local businesses? So there's a whole host of different things that you can include. There are some questions around financials. So right at the very beginning of this call, I mentioned that you need to have been in your business for 2 years. So we will ask you questions around which bracket you sit in terms of your turnover. But there is an understanding that people are not, or we're not looking for the person who has the highest turnover. We're not expecting you to have no outstanding debts or loans. What we're looking for are sustainable businesses and people who have a really good understanding of their finances as well, because in order to be able to go through the later stages of the competition, you will be asked some questions, so it's important that you understand those. But sometimes people are nervous about sharing that information, but, and I mentioned at the very beginning of the call, it's very much confidential, and it's not shared with anybody. So if you are an independent business entering the competition and you're worried that that might be shared with your parent pub company, I can assure you that that's not the case. So there's lots of different things that you can include in those applications to bring them to life. And I think this is where both Flo and Joe, who's sitting slightly off camera, although I'm sure you look fantastic, here he is. Guys, can you tell me a little bit about your application when you first entered, either last year or the year before, what you included, how long that process took you to put that application together?
I think you're kind of trying to bring your pub to life. I think that's something that we try to do. Is obviously, most of the people that are judging have never seen or heard of our pub, so I think it's important that you don't take what you do for granted. I think that's something that probably people fall down on, is don't talk their pub up enough. And I think as sort of landlords, we're not very big-headed. So I think to go into a judging round with people not coming in, you have got to be a little bit big-headed and kind of bring your pub to life.
Yeah,
and
just
make
paint
it
the
colourful.
picture through words, essentially, is just the way we did it. I mean, we walked through every single small detail that we do, which we think for us is not a huge deal, but for on the outside looking in, it probably is. Just because it becomes your daily life, then you kind of get used to it. So it was just including every small detail that we did. There's never too much information.
It's quite good to get other people in the industry's opinion as well, because some things that you might not see as being special, they might pick up on. So I think, yeah, leaning out to other industries, people that you know, or it might just be a friend, and say, right, what do you think I'm missing out on this? And just helping sort of paint the picture of what you do. And you know, I don't know what the judge is looking for. I still don't really know, but I think maybe it's a bit of a point of difference, and you know, caring and being a bit more innovative. And there might be small things that you did. I know that COVID is not really a word anymore, but there might be things that you did during COVID to try and be a bit more innovative and, you know, keep your head afloat and those kind of things. Hold on, I think.
And did you guys include any videos, any photos, any social media cuttings, or did you just use that blank application form?
I think we just used the application form that we were given. So the way we did it is what I recommend for people is not to sit down and just do it all in one go. It's something that does need a lot of thought behind it. So the way we kind of did it is, you know, you do 20 minutes on say 1 or 2 sections, take a break, go back through it, get someone else to read through it just to double check it. So you can, I mean, it can take a couple of hours, but if you just space it out a little bit more, then it gives you that breathing room to kind of think about it, and you don't miss out on anything. And having that extra person to kind of give you a hand, someone else in the business or a friend, like Joe said, within the industry, is a way to do it. The other thing that we also, so touching on what was Joe was saying with COVID, after doing 2022 and it was 23 last year, it's not 23 this year, the trends and everything changed, so we had to be really hot on what was going to come up, really. You can't really assume what's going to come up within the judging process, but you can do your research into things like on CAM, looking through the BII website, really get hot on what they're looking for. So say 22 was post-COVID trade, how we got things back up and going, and also cost of living crisis, because that was something that was coming up. It was in the October when the energy prices changed, whereas this year there was more of a focus on your well-being of staff, financials, but also sustainability. We knew that was going to come up, so it's just really keeping an eye on what is going on within the industry and getting yourself up to speed with everything on that, so you can add it into your application and make you a little bit more attractive.
Thank you. Ollie, did you have you got anything to add about when you filled in your application initially?
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe and Flo have covered it, but I guess the only thing is try and make it fun. You know, anyone who's done any judging in the past, you know, it can be quite intimidating to sit down with lots and lots and lots of applications, and it is quite a big template. And I think the advice on that Flo gave, you can't write too much. I actually submitted a 3-minute video, kind of lots of social media posts and the team, and some of it was all a bit stupid, really, but the one thing you can't really put on an application form too much is an element of fun. And what will really make you stand out is that we get your personality, and more importantly, probably the personality of your team and your business. And so I would really suggest pictures, videos, even the way you write stuff up. It can all get a little bit heady quite easily. And you know, especially if you're doing something really special or something you're really proud of, try and put that forward in a way that the judges, when they sit down, they're gonna say, you know, do you remember this about this pub, rather than kind of all very black and white, just flesh on the bones. You know, there's absolutely no problem, it would seem, because I got through, in sharing some silly videos of your team having fun and showing that, I was about to say that they genuinely enjoyed themselves. You have coerced them into looking like they enjoyed themselves for a video. But you know, I would say, if I had to sit down and review 100 application forms, I would remember the people who put the personality of their team and their business forward first.
100%.
So really, yeah, try and have some fun with it.
Excellent. Okay, so so that's the application process. Obviously, if any of you have got any more questions, then please feel free to drop them into the chat box. The next stage is a mystery customer visit. So we use a company called HGEM, who some of you will be familiar with, to go out and do a mystery visit on everybody who has reached the quarterfinals. So that if there's 50 pubs, that's 50 site visits that they'll do. There are two different forms that they use. So in order to make sure that we're not penalising anybody for the type of offer that they have, we have one form that is judged if you are a purely wet-led pub, so if you're not doing any food, and then we have another different form that is used if you are a pub that serves food. So one of the questions in the application form will be, what kind of business do you run? Do you serve food? And that will inform which of those judging forms are used. You won't get told, obviously, when they're coming out, because it's a mystery shopper visit, so it's a surprise. And those scores will be added on to the scores that you have already received for your application form, for your social media and website audit, as you go through. So we accrue points all the way through, which means that we're looking for somebody who scores highly in every area across the board. So we're not going to, it's not going to be biased by one section of the competition. It's not a competition that can be influenced by any single judge. It's something that you will accrue points as you go through. And when we accrue all of those points, we look to then reduce the numbers to our semi-finalists, and that's usually around 12 to 13 pubs with licensees. So that might be couples or individuals, and the final number really depends on the scoring and how people come through that process. Again, you'll receive, if you reach the semi-finals, another badge. So you can see here the licensee of the year semi-finalist badge, which you can use on your social media, and all of those semi-finalists will receive a face-to-face interview carried out by our head judges. So the judges are both existing operators, so they understand. So you're not being judged by somebody who doesn't understand how to run a business, and they will literally travel around the country, England, Scotland and Wales, to wherever our semi-finalists happen to be, and they will do an interview with those semi-finalists. They'll also, as part of the semi-finalist stage, you'll have your financial review, which is also undertaken by the expert judges. So very briefly, Ollie, can you tell us about your experience when you had your face-to-face interview with the head judges last year, please?
Yeah. They're amazing. I guess we're not naming them, so but the two of them are fantastic operators. I was one of those people, cards on the table, who thought, oh God, are they going to send me a sponsor to come and look at my business? And it's like an estate agent or someone. They are absolutely not. And the best bit about them is they are so caring and they are genuinely interested. Both of them are current operators. They will not intrude. They will not try and catch you out. They are genuinely there to kind of fill in the bits around that the process so far hasn't done. And actually, one of them actually gave me some technical advice because I was struggling with something in my cellar and fixed a problem for me while they were on site. So that's genuinely how supportive that visit is. I wish it could have been longer. I wanted to go for a beer with them afterwards. They're not scary. They're not there to catch you out. They're not there to do. All they're trying to do is really dig under the surface and also kind of get to know you as a person. They obviously don't have very good taste because they put me through, but you know, they genuinely, it is not a kind of sweat rolling down your back interview. It's a tour of the premises. It's kind of some financial stuff, and really it's about you and who you are and what you champion, really.
And in terms of the financial audit, what kind of questions, when they were doing the financial review, did they ask you questions at that point? And what kind of questions were asked of you?
So it's kind of, I would imagine, that, you know, the sort of stuff you would do in a business review. You know, it's about turnover, it's about profit conversion, it's about GP levels, it's about staff turnover, it's about what you pay, how you reward and recognize. It's nothing that any operator will find difficult. I suppose what I would say is that it is thorough. So I would know your numbers.
Okay.
You know, I actually have my laptop with me just in case. And if you know, they might, for example, ask you what your GP was on your last food count, stock count. You know, they might ask you what you're forecasting for the next quarter. Again, they don't have the ability at that point to check it, but they are operators, and so will have a sense of whether or not it's totally ludicrous what you tell them. So
Okay.
it's not surface level, but also it's stuff that I'm sure everyone on the call knows already.
Okay, great. So so then when we've done those, again, you'll have another set of scores which are added to your tally, and we announce the finalists. So the finalists are usually 6 pubs with licensees, so that could be again couples or individuals, and again, just remember these are the top 6 pubs out of everybody that's been nominated through the whole process that have excelled in every one of those sections. So to reach the finals alone is an enormous achievement. The finalists again get another social media badge, and have the opportunity to use that as PR to their customers, to get their staff on board. And if you have a parent pub company, so if you are either a manager or a tenant or a lessee, or even a free trade operator with a lead brewer, it's a great opportunity to get them also to share that social media and to get them really on board with telling your customers how far you've come. And those finalists have only one stage left. And that stage are the panel interviews that we hold at Sky head offices. And we will share with you after this call a video of what that looks like. But Flo, if you can think back to not last year, but the year before, so your very first visit to Sky head office, can you in a couple of sentences tell us how that felt when you first arrived?
Well, it was you know, you take a load of landlords and tenants out of their pubs and into a corporate building, and we all look a bit lost. But it's an amazing experience. Sky HQ is just awesome, really, really cool. And then it was nice because everyone else is in the same position. So I think the first year we did it, we didn't really know what to expect, so we were a little bit nervous going into it. There is no reason to actually feel nervous because I know it is the final round, but I mean, you've made it into the top 6 in the UK. It's an achievement within itself, and then winning it, you know, it's a huge achievement, but just remember that you've made it into the final is enough. But I think, you know, you turn up early on a Monday morning, you get to have a little look around Sky, which is amazing, and you'll get put in this fabulous room. You get catered for, water, food, it's brilliant. The BII team look after you so well, and then you slowly go off into your interviews, and it's all very well timed and managed. So I think one of the tips would be don't work yourself up too much. I know it's a completely different environment to what we're used to, but you know, embrace the opportunity and also the experience.
Thank you. And Ollie, ahead of those interviews, so when you got told that you'd reached the finals, did you get any advice or support from the judges around how to prepare for that, or what to expect, or did you just go in blind?
Yeah, I mean, you get a pack sent through with what to expect, which is really thorough and quite accurate. I actually reached out and spoke to a couple of people who had done the finals before.
Okay.
Fun fact is one of them definitely sent me down the river and told me loads of really good stuff, but also wound me up a little bit, so I was a bit more nervous. But and again, if anyone on the call wants to reach out and email me nearer the time and say what's it all about, feel free. I just really echo, and actually I showed up. I'm a single licensee in the sense that there's only one of me on the day, and I'd probably had a couple too many coffees, and was super nervous and a little bit jittery. And I met these lovely people who work for the BII called Flo and Joe, who took me under their wing and said it'd be fine, here's what's going to happen. And then I realized that they were actually my fellow finalists and that they were also competing. So I would highly recommend finding your Flo and Joe in the room, And if there is anyone in the room who has done the process before, just talk to them, because exactly what Flo said, there's no reason to be nervous.
Perfect.
But you will do anyway. So.
Yeah, we've always said we just say you're talking about your favourite topic ever. So just go mad.
Excellent. So we've got a slide here that talks around the HGEM visits. I won't labour this too much, but everybody who's registered for the call today, I will send you out a blank copy of the forms that are used in that judging process, which will give you an opportunity to see what HGEM are looking for, so that you can then take those forms and walk around your business and see how you would score if you were to have a mystery shopper visit today. This lovely young man with the coordinating shirt on today, as he's actually wearing in this picture, is Ollie and his comments. And again, we'll send these slides out to you as well. So the winners of the Licensee of the Year Awards win a number of different things. So you do win a year's Sky Sports commercial pub and club subscription, which is provided by Sky because they are our headline sponsors. You will receive £500 towards a staff party to celebrate with your team. A year's free membership to the BII, which you can give to one of your team members if you're already a member. Ongoing PR support and the invitation to attend, as Ollie and Joe and Flo have done for me today, future events to talk to other operators that are looking to get involved. And the winners also receive a full feedback pack of their judging visit and what the judges have thought about. So when you go to the final judging day at Sky, that is a real mix of people who will be on each of the judging panels. So you'll be talking to people who are HR and training professionals, you'll be talking to people who are finance professionals, operators, all different people who look after PR and social media. So you'll be having people who will look at your business from every angle, and that feedback for you will be invaluable. In fact, I believe the feedback was the reason that Joe and Flo decided to enter the following year. So they entered in 2022 and made the finals, but didn't make it through to winning. Took that feedback and took it all on board, and then came back and entered again in 2023. Now, I was speaking to Ollie just before you all joined the call, and we were referring to the Sky Sports subscription, which I said jokingly, you know, it's not always the top reason that people enter, because a lot of the pubs that enter don't necessarily show live sports, so that may or may not be of value to you. And Ollie had a really useful comment, so over to you, Ollie. Please tell me, as a manager, what that means to you.
Well, specifically as a manager who runs a pub that takes sport really seriously and has multiple boxes. I'm not saying it was the reason why I entered, but certainly when I was sat there after the judging day and thinking, if I win this, this is great. You know, the amount of money we spend, which is tens of thousands of pounds a year on Sky, if you win and you get that refunded onto your P&L as a manager, and you're on a bonus scheme, or if it's your own business and you're taking home the profit, that can have a really quite serious effect on taking a really good year to a very excellent year, if you catch me. There's definitely something to not throw away if you're a pub that shows sport with Sky. Perfect.
And in terms of the feedback that you guys got from the judges, Joe and Flo, can you, without giving us all of the feedback that you got, because I know that it was quite comprehensive, how useful was that to you in a business perspective, and what did you do with that?
Huge, really. I think it was broken down into loads of different sections. Obviously, you get reviews from every round, so social media, which I think ours was actually all right. I think we've got 100%. I think our mystery shopper that year was our best year. This year was still pretty good, but I think a lot of the reviews on 2022 were about us being an equal partnership and making sure that we were kind of both on the same page. And I think sometimes some of the sessions can get quite, I wouldn't say fiery, but quite intense at times. And then sort of when the pressure comes on, I think one will kind of step over the other maybe. So I think it's making sure that you've got an equal footing, and you'll kind of you're planning it in advance what you're going to talk about. So making sure that each one of you, if you go into a partnership, have kind of got your skill sets. A little bits of it were about us being further along in our business plan. We kind of got a 5-year business plan, which we were at the start of at the time. And I think they kind of wanted a bit further along the journey. which gave us a bit of a kick up the arse really to kind of get it done and be further on the line. And discussions with most of the sort of judges over finals day and over a few beers was more about us having a year off and having a bit of a gap and having a couple of years away to kind of get it completed.
Which you obviously ignored.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
came back immediately.
I think it was important, it was kind of something that we thought we were quite close on and in 2022, and I think we felt quite passionately about the cause and about the competition and saw the benefit. And I think even if we hadn't have won it, we'd have gone again. I think it's a journey that we've loved, and to get to meet so many great people as well is kind of probably more important than winning it. It's just the connections that we have now that we didn't have before, and our network is great now. And I think that's the biggest thing now is I've got a group of phone numbers of people that I can call on a daily and have discussions with and rant at instead of sort of ranting at my team.
Excellent. We actively discourage ranting at your team wherever possible, but please do feel free to rant at us at any time. So after the final judging day, which this year, so 2024, will be on the 17th of June. So if you're thinking about entering, please make sure that you are available to be in London on the 17th of June. We then have our summer event, which is on the 18th of June. So this is at the HAC in London. This is a fantastic venue. Again, we'll share with you a little video afterwards, which I'll send out a link to, where you can see what it's all about. And that's where we announce the winners. So all of the people who get through to the finals will automatically receive a ticket to attend that event, and they'll be seated together so that when the winners are announced, you're all sat together and you get to see to stand next to your comrades that you've met through the process. This is Michelle. Michelle was another of the operators who were in last year's finals from a wet-led pub in Coventry. So 100% booze, no food at all, made it all the way through to the finals. Just another example of somebody who comes from a slightly different business model, who's done really well through the competition. So without further ado, because I know that we are slightly over time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I will open the floor to anyone who has got any questions for either Joe or Flo or Ollie or Taya or myself. So please jump in if you've got any questions. Don't all jump at once though. No questions. So I know, Taya, you have a couple of questions that came through, and I think we've probably covered some of them in the call. Is there anything on your list that we haven't managed to cover yet?
We had one for Ollie, as a manager instead of a landlord. Did you find the process harder or easier for you?
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't know, because I've never done it as a tenant. But I guess to try and turn it into advice that I got and would give is, if you do work for a managed pub company, it is really important to acknowledge the support you get from said pubco, and then to kind of develop that with the stuff you do in addition to that. I got some feedback from the first judging visit where I kind of didn't talk about what the pubco did, because I was really worried they'd think that I didn't do anything. And they said, no, absolutely acknowledge it, because it's great that your business receives that support. And then go on to talk about the stuff that you do above and beyond what you get from your head office or support center or whatever you call it. So I don't think it's easier or harder. It is slightly different, and you do need to put that filter on where you're going to be in a competition with people who have to do it all themselves. So acknowledge your privilege of working for a managed pub company, but then also focus on what you do in addition to that.
Excellent. That's a great answer. And in terms of the financial side of things, did you feel that as a manager, you were less prepared around the kind of questions, or did you feel the questions that you were asked during those sort of later stages of the competitions were a mirror of questions that you get asked maybe through head office or through your BDM within Fuller's?
So I think to echo what you said earlier on, the finance panel in the finals, it is a room full of experts who have experience in leased and tenanted, in freehold, in managed. you know, I guess some of it was familiar, but you can kind of drive that conversation. You know, we have been through a period of investment, and so I tried to talk a lot about that. But I guess that panel, that final panel, rather than the first financial audit, you know, they don't really leave any stone unturned. I think whether that's your money, the bank's money, Fuller's money, or a Pubco's money, you know, they want to know that you're running the business like it's your own, and that you are accountable for how it's performing financially.
Excellent. One of the questions that I get asked a lot when I do these sessions, or the preconceived ideas that people have, is that going through this process is really hard work, really long-winded, and it's going to take a huge amount of time out of your day. So Joe and Flo, from your perspective as independent business owners, in terms of the time it took you to go through the different stages of the competition, you mentioned earlier that you spent a couple of hours on your initial application form. What would you say about the other stages? Which of the stages took the most time, and how intensive was it for you up until the final judging day?
I've got to admit, the semi-finals, I think, for us took probably the most amount of time, because all of the preparation you do for these semi-finals, you've all got it, you've got it in your head, you've got everything written down. So when you're in the final round, you've got all your information to you. So I think that's probably the one that we spent the most time doing. We spent probably 2 weeks before just building up, just kind of talking about everything, writing down as many notes as we could that we wanted to touch on. I think the actual semi-finals themselves, when the head judges came, was about 3 hours. It was just over a lunch service, which was nice to have them within the pub when there were people here. So yeah, it was about 3 hours, which I think is probably the most time consuming.
Also, I think if you don't see it as an investment in your business and in yourselves, then you probably shouldn't be entering.
Yeah.
You know, I do think it's not the time scale that anyone's bothered about. I think the right person should see it as an investment in myself, in my business, in my team, and that the feedback that you get is invaluable. Like you're getting, you no matter what, you're gonna get a huge feedback from the biggest industry legends that are out there. That's worth its weight in gold. You know, if I've got to give up a day off a month for 6 months, then that's what has to be done. And I think the more effort you put into each round, the better, the further you'll get, in my opinion.
So we have just had a question come in on the chat. How many licensees can we nominate? There is no limit to how many people you can nominate for this competition. So we would welcome you just to look at the entry criteria. So the being in the pub for 2 years, holding a personal license. But if you are, if you're a BDM or if you're not BDM and you just know lots of great pubs, I personally make nominations every year of the pubs that I frequent, the pubs that I've been to that I think do a fantastic job. So there's no limit to how many people you can nominate for that competition. It's, as I said earlier, though, it's down to them whether or not they choose to go forward with the application form. But please don't feel limited at all in terms of who you can nominate. So we're almost out of time, and I guess just for both Ollie and Joe and Flo, there are people on the call today, and there will be people who watch this back who are thinking about entering. So I'm going to start with Joe and Flo because you are on my screen right in front of me. In one sentence from each of you, if somebody is thinking about entering, what would you say?
Why not? Do you know what I mean? That was our yeah, it's probably one of the
Excellent.
But why wouldn't you enter?
Okay. Flo?
I'd say put in the time, put in the effort. What, as Joe said earlier, what you put in, you'll get back. And the experience is 100% worth it to you with all that feedback, even if you don't win. It's you could spend a fortune getting an audit on your business, or you could enter the licensee of the year. Perfect.
Ollie, anything to add?
Yeah, just do it and have fun and be prepared to learn and change, because you will for the better. Just put the app in, start the process, do it.
Excellent. And Ollie won't be re-entering this year. I know one of the questions I had before is, will Ollie be entering? He's changing his business this year, so he's moving across from one pub company to another, so he won't have been in his new pub for 2 years. But I imagine, Ollie, in a couple of years' time, once you've settled in at your new venue, we'll see you again.
I will, and that also means I'm available for impartial advice. I'm all over social media and LinkedIn. If anyone wants to get in touch, give me a shout, and I promise I will not show up like Joe and Flo did as competitors in the final for you. So.
Perfect. Listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining the call today. Thank you, Joe, Flo, and Ollie, and Taya for helping to me to host. If anybody has got any questions, I will be sending out an email straight after this call with some links to the videos. I'm quite happy to put you in touch with Ollie and with Joe and Flo if you want to speak to them directly. And we look forward to seeing your entry forms. So thank you very much.
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck.
See you all later.
Bye.
Bye.